Hello and welcome back to Enemy of My Enemy. I am so excited. We are here in our penultimate episode. We have two more tonight, and next week is our finale of this 5-part series of Vampire the Masquerade and Hunter the Reckoning. Together, a party mixed of hunters and vampires in a story against a greater evil. Before we get into it, I know we have a little bit of housekeeping we should get to. Drak, I would love to pass it on over to you.
Yeah, as Dylan mentioned, this is a Vampire the Masquerade and Hunter the Reckoning mashup, and we're using Demiplane Nexus to actually play this. And the wonderful folks at Demiplane is sponsoring this show and allowing it to be this channel to be the home of it. So thank you so much for that, Demiplane. And as you can see, I'm never sure where to point. I think that way. As you can see in that direction around there, we're also sponsored by Hero Forge. If you want to make minis of your characters, whether it's Vampire the Masquerade or Hunter the Reckoning, like our characters are, or any other tabletop, Hero Forge is the platform to do that on. They offer fully customizable tabletop miniatures with dozens of species and thousands of parts to choose from. You might see it this coming week, but all of us made our characters in Hero Forge, so you can see it just how diverse and how creative you can get with the platform. The design tools are very easy to learn and get the hang of to build your perfect miniature online using fully 3D in-depth character creator right in your web browser. I even got to go down into the minuscule details of adding scars. So that was one of the things I'm never really able to do on like pit crews and stuff like that. I could find something that matched the scar that Enoch has. So again, if you get to see that, you might see the detail we can get into. But yeah, Hero Forge offers custom minis in a variety of materials, including color printed options. It also offers downloadable models just in case you don't want to order it from there directly. You can buy the model and print it off yourself on your own 3D printer or any other 3D printer you have available to you. And the color is actually pretty good. It sticks. I actually have one from a different game here. It's been a while. This is how am I actually recognize this? Oh, there we go. It's Gosh. I still have it. But yeah, you can get down to the nitty gritty of details and colors with this thing. So if you want to try it out, you can see it in the chat now. If you put exclamation point Hero Forge, you'll be able to click the link and go there and create your own characters now. And like I mentioned before, we're using Demiplane Nexus to play this game, to look up the rules and create our characters. And if you are in chat right now, you can actually enter a giveaway every week, every episode of this series. We've been giving away a Vampire the Masquerade Ultimate Bundle and the Hunter the Reckoning core book, and this week is no different. The mods in chat will tell you exactly how to enter that giveaway, and if you win, you can create your own characters and play. Maybe do your own mashup of Enemy of My Enemy. Let us know if you do make one and do one, because I would love to know what happens in your game, because I imagine it'll be just as messy, if not messier, than ours. And again, I'm going to keep talking because introductions. Hi, the person who's been talking to at you this entire time is Drak. I use he, they pronouns. You can find me on Twitter at Drakonics. That's DRAKONIQES. I'm a teacher, RPG performer, producer, everything and anything teacher RPG related I do or will be doing. I'm also the project lead, and I play Enoch here. Enoch Igweze, the very kind, loving person who is very empathic to everyone, of course. I can't see all of a sudden. I can't see everyone staring at me weirdly enough. That's strange. I'm going to pass it over to Matt.
Hello, beautiful, wonderful people. Hi, how's it all going? Thank you so much for coming along. I appreciate you so much. I'm so stoked for today. I've been thinking about it all week. I'm excited. My name is Matt, Captain Crail. They, he, keep that they on in the front of your mouth. We love it. But he is also fine with the occasional little splash of it. I am playing Auguste Dubois, who is him, our awful little rat man, who is rat in soul, not in game, right? I primarily, aside from this, do the Adamless. I GM the Adamless, and I also edit it. We have just had a brand new episode that went out on Wednesday, the award-nominated
Sorry to
Adamless.
interrupt. You forgot to mention it again. The
The award-nominated, the Adamless,
exactly.
the AP turned improvised audio drama. If you listen to the podcast, we take out all the mechanics talk. It's using the Starfinder system, but we take out the mechanics and just add music and sounds and like pew-pews and all these like atmosphere. We move around conversations and add in like delicious pregnant pauses, and it's beautiful. It's a wonderful project. I love it so deeply. If you like sci-fi and space, and if you like delicious roleplay and drama, please go check out the Adamless. I love it so much. We just started our season 2 is what we're calling it, where we have who some people may know, Wally Friendly Slime is our first ever guest, as we're in our Wild West arc, and it is beautiful. I love it so much. Anyway, I am now going to pass it over to who, I mean, was and they think is worst enemy arch nemesis, but are more similar to than I believe they care to admit. I'm going to pass it over to Raven.
Yeah, hi, that's me, Raven, aka Wreck-It Raven on the internet. I don't have any, breathy, fast thing to say because that's a lot of work. But I play Madame Ime. I am a TTRPG performer, actual player. I am around the internet saying things on occasion. But yeah, I think that's kind of it. I mean, Ime's real cool. Ime is also very warrior, and people just came into her house and disrespected the ever living out of it. So I'm scared. I'll say that. I am going to pass it to the lovely Hamnah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hamnah. I use any and all pronouns, and I am a TTRPG performer and producer. You can find me on all of the social medias at Lilith TTRPG. So if you want to know where I am at any given point in time, Twitter actually specifically is the best place to figure that out. But today I'll be playing Fanaa, who uses they, them pronouns, and Fanaa is a salubri vampire. The Ghost Riders are particularly interested in them for some reason. I have no idea what that's about. Genuinely no idea, and I'm terrified. So let's, I guess, find out what that's about. And with that, I will pass it up and over to Stella.
Hello. I'm Stellaluna on Twitch, Stellaluna TV on all other social media. I'm a Twitch partner, TTRPG producer, and performer. I do pretty much this every day of my life. It's great. It's my dream come true. 10-year-old Stella would think I am the bomb right now. And that honestly is what keeps me going. Today I'll be playing Kim Raelyn. They are a La Sombra vampire nursemaid nun. It's a thing. Yep. And Kim just figured out who took out their sister. Sadness. Yeah, so we'll see what happens next. I know. Who, why, where, how. But I will pass it on over to Dillin.
Hello, I'm Dillin or Super Dillin. Both of those are great. I would like you to use she, he, and they pronouns when you talk about me, good or bad. And I am really thrilled to be our storyteller for this. I am an actual play performer and game designer. You can find my games on itch. I just released a new game last week called How Does That Work? You're a Bicycle. A 2-player story game where one GM, the author of a story, and one player, the protagonist of the story, get to argue over the fate of the protagonist's plotline. And I would like if you played it. Other than that, I'm here to do terrible things to this crew today. And I'm really excited to get into it. Before we do, I think we have a little trailer to get to. And we'll see you back in a minute to start the penultimate episode of Enemy of My Enemy.
Enemy of my enemy may include death, minor violence and or gore, exsanguination, blood, hunger, memory and or thought manipulation, classism, betrayal, romance, party conflict, heights, and real-life religion and political allegory. Everyone on this show has a set of safety tools to use if anything in our game becomes triggering for us, but we want you, the audience, to remain safe as well. If anything occurs that is triggering to you, please look after yourself and step away if you need to. And remember, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
The shade of a creature looking at Fanaa. Stay alive till then. And turns, his head once again moving, his body follows. As he turns to leave the club, presumably, several of the undead in this place, patrons of yours, Madame Ime, are following, somewhat entranced, some interested, looking genuinely hungry, genuinely excited, maybe. It is not easy for them to leave, however, as they start to go, the chaos in this place is still present. Some of that is your doing, as they have to bob and weave out of the figure who is blocking their way at every chance that they can. But they are trying to go on their way. Some of the dogs, the hounds, make it out. And for Auguste, and I believe also for Enoch right now, they are not visible any longer. You two just see the undead that trail behind them, and a couple of blood splatters that occasionally hit the carpeted floor of the club. But the floor is yours. What would you like to do?
I think right now there is this tension in Ime that Kim and Fanaa have not really had access to. This is more than just somebody opening their mouth and trying to put Ime in a bad spot, and thus, they find their way to the back room of the club where it's a one-way entrance or a one-way door. This is different. I am scowling, seething quietly as there's something that kind of just takes over me. There's this cold calculation, this planning, this premeditation that is happening within me as I am watching this kindred run in between, knocking some people down as they scramble towards the door. And I'm almost a beacon of silence in this newfound chaos, bubbling eerily. And I quickly turn to walk towards the platform, and I snatch one of the stabs with a very old, blunted flint arrow head on the top of it. And I just hold it. And my posture is that of an ancient warrior of sorts. You both know where Ime comes from, where she was born, birthed in the heart of Africa some 200 plus years ago. This is a stance of an Agoji warrior. Her hair is up and she is just watching intently.
Fanaa, the last words of this creature, this shade as it turned away, were to you. As it walks away, do you have any reaction?
When I was taken aback by the shade telling them that they need to stay alive until then. They're used to being hunted. They're not used to whatever this is. And so I think Fanaa, for a moment, is struck as this person turns and starts to walk away. And I think you can see that there's a calculation going in their head, and they eventually reach some sort of conclusion, and they kind of like step forward, hands up. What do you need me for?
It pauses in its walk, or glide rather, out of the building. Doesn't fully turn around, just sort of arcs a ghastly head back over shoulder to you. Need you is not the word. This is a hunt, and you are perfect prey.
I don't understand. Why take all of these people with you? I'm right here.
The hunt is not on. We have more to gather. We thought this place would be more lucrative. Some of the kindred in this city are weak. Then he turns his head back forward and continues to slide through the air, dodging the kindred trying to get in his way.
And Fanaa, confused still, I think, by all of this, like turns to look at Kim trying to see if they understand any of what was said. If they...
Kim, perhaps for one of the first times that you've seen is not on their feet. They've adjusted so that they're sitting up against one of the walls. You can see that she's bleeding from a wound on her midsection, leaking the ichor that we had previously been enjoying together. And her chin is down, her hair and her habit are shrouding her face. And she doesn't look up at you.
You hear the, suppose depending on who's listening, the sickening crack of ribs breaking as the vampire I had just felled, I slam a stake into their chest and then stomp down on it to make sure it stays dead. And I turn. Do I see any more come after me or August, or are they all leaving?
They are all leaving. The ones that looked affected in the way this one was are no longer charging at either of you or any other living. They are just focused dead ahead and following the shades.
I will back up so I'm closest to August and not really whispering, but only really talking loud enough for August beside me to hear. I don't have sight on them, but the kindred are leaving.
Ghost Rider. This is what they called themselves, yes?
Yes. I haven't heard
I
of them
cannot see
or come
them.
across any of them.
I was not able to see any damage or anything that they were doing. If they have the power to control vampires and possibly other things, then the city
It's fucked.
is fucked. 3 days, a lot of time to do research, but I can try.
Yeah, no, we can figure something out. You okay?
Their hand twitches slightly as they want to, like, grab part of their neck that is still like. There's trickles of blood coming from it, but their hand only twitches as they don't want to show that it hurts, as that in itself is a loss. I am fine. I have had worse. Are you still infected?
No. No, I'm not. Just as blind to these creatures as you are. And I think you can see Enoch is drenched in holy water. And I believe he got 2 bites, correct? So he's got 2 bites. I think one probably near his clavicle, another on his arm, from the vampires that attacked him. But most of that, his white shirt kind of tinted reddish pink, mixing with the water and blood. But he's holding himself pretty tall regardless, likely for the same reason. Admitting it hurt is a loss in and of itself.
I think, just for flavor, Kane is human, comes over to Auguste and Enoch and just quietly hands a first aid kit. And if they don't take it, he's just going to leave it on the floor for them and walk away.
As he puts it offers it, Auguste looks at the med pack and then looks at Kane. We need to get out to a safe place. We need to do research for the lives, us. Referring to Auguste, Enoch, and to Kane, seeing that Kane's human.
Kane also looks like he has suspiciously not been bit, of course, but has been clawed at, has had some encounters with the hounds. It seems he looks at you, looks at Enoch, and says, "You're welcome to go." As he looks back over at the door, his gaze to the shades as they approach the door, grab it. The head scout yanks the door open again. It's slamming, splintering open. Leaves. The blood spilling from the one injured scout among them, sucking itself up off of the carpet and back into the shade's body as the scouts begin to leave the building. The door already repairing itself. I stay where Madame Ime is.
Turns to Madame Ime. There will be a fight. Are you sure you can control yourself?
She shoots a very sharp glare at Auguste. If I couldn't, I would have eaten you when I had the chance. You're bleeding.
What about you two?
I've spent my entire on life behaving.
I have a question. The hand
Yeah.
that Kim used to attack one of these scouts, is there still ichor on that hand, or has that also been sucked up?
You can actually see it as they leave begin to form droplets drifting off of your hand, traveling through the air back to them.
I will lift up my hand, and presumably Ime and Fanaa can see that the humans cannot. And I will just watch the blood dry from my hand and leave. I slump against the wall, pull off my habit, and I say, "It's part of the church. I'm always someone's bitch, so..."
I think Auguste begins walking out. And then as they get to Kim, God does not need the devils to fight his wars. But as we already know, God is dead. So we might need a devil.
It's funny that you think God is dead. Do you really know so much about her?
I know that you exist. That is enough.
The door slams shut. The sound of the hounds as they run down the street, the barking, the growling, the unearthly howling that echoes between the buildings of this city as they run further away and down different alleyways, heading in their different directions. But as the door repairs itself, becomes whole again, the color in this place begins to refill itself. The carnage was definitely done. The injuries do not heal, but the world becomes a light again in its normal hue to everyone here.
I think at that part, there is a sharp, sharp stare towards Enoch. And without any hesitation, Ime flips the spear upside down so that the dulled arrowhead is facing the floor and just lunges for Enoch.
Enoch?
I'm gonna try to dodge. I've been on edge the moment those blank bodies attacked.
Is there some type of help action that Auguste could give Enoch? Because I cannot imagine that Auguste is not also on edge.
So, not necessarily a help action, but actions take place simultaneously in this game. So, if you wanted to do something at the same time that Enoch is dodging, that would also assist in this. Enoch, dexterity, athletics to dodge out of the way. And are you? I'm so sorry, Raven. Did you say you were attacking with the spear or just attacking with your body?
Just my I have the spear, but
You're just
it
trying
is
to tackle.
basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get like the wood of the spear, like the long part, up against his body. Like I am trying to like check him.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I would say we could do that as a dexterity brawl.
What are we thinking, Drak? Do you want to?
Can I use strength?
You know what? Yes.
Okay.
And we'll flavor that a little bit. Let's see what
Okay.
happens.
So brawl.
You know, Matt, I think I'll like it just to play this out.
You want to play it out? Let's go.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
go. August like pulls to ready a shot, but is not quick enough for this interaction to go down.
Got it.
You said dexterity athletics, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
5 successes.
And I got 2 successes.
I would love for you to describe how you miss in this interaction, Madame Ime.
I'm rusty. I haven't really fought in years. So instead of getting where I want, I kind of like overshoot it. And I end up fumbling into one of the chairs beside him, or one of the seating areas beside him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to flavor it? And you can obviously say no to this. Do you want to flavor it slightly different? Maybe it isn't that you're rusty. Maybe it's just I expected it.
It could be that.
Both could
So
be true.
I think both could be true.
I think both can be
Yeah.
true here.
Okay.
Enoch was waiting for this moment, and Madame Ime hasn't had this kind of moment in quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rare for her to get her own hands dirty. So I overshoot it. But if you're okay with it, and I'm perfectly okay with you retaliating as needed, I stand up very quickly and I get in your face.
I think if you're cool with this, you stand up very quickly, and the moment you'd like turn to get in my face, there's a pistol pointed at your forehead.
Perfect. And as you have your pistol to my head, I reach up and I just grab onto your jaw. And so we are in a stalemate. What did I say, Enoch? Did you think I was playing when I told you not to harm a hair on their head?
Honestly, yeah, I did. Do you know why? Because
don't care.
moments before, you gave us your word, which I'm meant to believe is true and you'll stick to it. I believe your exact words were, "No one here is going to hurt you as long as I say that you're good. You have my word."
But did Fanaa
Of course,
hurt you?
Auguste said the word of the dead means very little. I pay attention. I'm not as oblivious as I seem to be. And you said, "Oh, they'll control themselves because I control them." You control them, and I'll point outside to the ones filing out, following the shade. I'll point to the one on the ground with a stake through its heart. You gave me and August your word. The only word I gave you is that I would do what needs to be done. Madame Ime, the only person here who didn't keep their word is you.
Oh, Enoch. How blind are you by your hatred for me and my kind?
I have no hatred for you.
No.
I've dealt with
I
vampires.
listened
I've dealt
to
with blank
you.
bodies stronger and more powerful than you, Madame Ime. You are strong, but in New York,
You
that is
feel
all.
her grip tighten. Listen to me now. That was above me. I am not.
Then don't give your word that you cannot keep.
You know.
It's not their fault.
I risked I'm not talking to you.
It's not.
Risked accepting your words, and me and my partner got injured. Then I saw
And you're
another
not
one of
dead
you blank
because
bodies.
of me.
Because of
You
you,
understand
look at the
that,
body.
right?
Did you do anything to that? That was me, because I took the things into my own hands. If I waited, I'd have had 3 vampires on me. You couldn't keep your word in one part of your promise. How am I going to expect you to keep your word in anything else? Like me being safe in your abode.
Your
I
daughter's
didn't pull
still
any
safe.
triggers to here. What did you just say?
I said your daughter's still safe.
I am hands.
Hands.
He's going to shoot you right in the stomach. Just immediately shot into the stomach.
I'll allow it. I'll take that damage.
You're gonna let it happen?
Yeah, is that superficial?
Yeah, we can do it for one superficial damage.
Okay, so I have 2 superficial damage right now.
Okay.
There is a cackle that echoes. Enoch. I'm sorry you think that I planned today. I am equally as upset. But know that I know. And I would never. But you have to understand that these 2 are all I have. And I will gladly lay my life down. So if that's what you want, take it. If you're done throwing a shit fit like a fucking toddler. Let's find out who's actually doing this.
No, because the thing is, I was ready to walk out of here. The only one throwing a shit fit is you.
I would like
Honey.
to say that not your reaction, Madame Ime, is not the only thing that happens. Madame Ime was just shot in this club. Kane, as well as several other members of staff who are not affected by the previous influence that was in here, rush to stand Kane between the two of you as this interaction happens.
Stand down.
Both of you first. That doesn't happen again in this place. And he reaches a wrist to Madame Ime.
Fine.
If you're going to leave, you can leave. But what I just saw, I've never seen. Maybe you don't kill each other. And
I
you
had
figure
no
it out.
intention of killing this thing.
If I wanted to kill any of you, I could have and would have.
Ime releases Enoch. I'm sorry for what happened.
Enoch turns around and walks over to where he left his bag. Puts the Nintendo Switch back in it and hoists it onto his shoulder. I'm not. And
That's
will turn
fine.
to Auguste.
Be careful around Maya. You want to know how I know, Enoch? Be careful around her. And she will take Kane's wrist and drop her spear and just feed.
There's finally, in the aftermath of this incredibly tense showdown, a few moments quiet in here. Auguste, Fanaa, Kim. The tension is thick, but the moment has passed.
I will move to stand, bodily putting myself in between the hunters and Madame Ime as she feeds. I'll simply begin to rummage around in my pockets for a cigarette.
Fanaa waits for the hunters to see what they are going to do, whether they are going to leave, and if they move to leave. Fanaa, who had been quiet since being chastised by Enoch, is going to make their way over to Auguste and lightly tap him on the shoulder before he leaves.
August turns, not in a like a shocked someone's here to hit me way, since you feel like they're like kind of on edge anyway, but just turns as a a person would to being interrupted in the street.
Fanaa leans in a little bit closer to you, not too close as to make Auguste uncomfortable, given that they know about his dislike for Fanaa's kind, but just close enough that only Auguste would be able to hear. Can I speak with you for a second? Hello.
Outside.
Lead the way.
August, just before turning around, does turn to Kim. Hey, if you truly believed in any higher power, you would be disgusted by what you are. I would follow that instinct.
It's funny that you don't think that I am. There's the door.
August, Kane first, walks out the door and leaves first, and like the door kind of swings back on Fanaa, like doesn't like hold it open for them.
And Fanaa will follow. I think before they go, they will just kind of indicate non-verbally to Madame Ime and Kim that they're okay and that they'll be back soon. So as not to incite worry or to have any of them follow.
You see instinctually Kim is like already moving to follow after you, but locking eyes with you, there's a hesitation. And she looks to Madame Ime.
Ime looks up after kind of just wiping her lips as she releases Kane's wrist, and there is a small trail of vitae that is just very casually strolling down her cheek, and she nods.
And Fanaa will follow to wherever Auguste feels safest, most comfortable to have this conversation.
I do think it's very much right outside the door. Oddly, Enoch, I imagine, is also outside, but has walked down the street a little bit.
Yeah.
Where like, just so that Enoch is in the line of sight. Importantly, and then turns and doesn't say anything.
I'm under no false impressions that we're friends, any of us. And Fanaa will kind of gesture with their head over to Enoch, who is down the street. But at the very least, surely you must be able to understand that we are not on opposing sides here. I have a proposition for you to end this. All of this, everything that's happening, as much as your friend wants to believe it, it's not Madame Ime's fault. It's not Kim's either. Quite frankly, it's neither of yours, despite what you do. It's mine. All of my own life. I have just brought danger and hunters and killers to Madame Ime's door. And she's been so kind as to take care of me throughout it all. But I think it's gone too far this time. They don't want you. They don't want your friend. They don't want any of us either. They just want me, right?
Although I am open to the idea of you dying for pointless reasons. If you were to go, there would be repercussions for the living.
What if it wasn't for pointless reasons? What if, and this is the reason that I'm even coming to you in the first place, we could use it as a trap for you, your friend, and any others that you have to do what you do best.
Auguste will put their revolver into a holster in their jacket and then open their palm. Oh, actually, no. We'll hand Fanaa Auguste's phone unlocked with the like new contact information up. Your number.
And Fanaa will put in their contact information into Auguste's phone. And as they hand it back, they look at Auguste right in the eye and they say, the others can't know about this. They would never approve.
There is this extremely bizarre twinge of sympathy coming from that just hits Auguste's face for like a second and then immediately is strapped away. Almost like there is a slight chip in the sharp edge of a soul in a hidden corner that they've that has finally become rounded again. Or revealed itself to be more rounded, one that they couldn't quite get to. I know that becoming something awful is not. You look for home in anywhere that it lies. I believe your home is dangerous. And I think you should consider leaving it all behind. It was not even safe when the owner of the house gave their word. And if Madame Ime's word does not mean anything,
It means
you are not
everything.
safe.
Like I
Then
said,
why was nobody safe?
that wasn't Madame Ime's fault.
And I'm sure the next time won't be either. Or the time after that, or the time it'll never be there.
No, because there won't be a next time. We will make sure of that, right?
We will. Yes. Is Fanaa had cried some blood previously, correct?
Mhm.
Auguste puts their hand in their jacket and takes out a small, very clean, well pressed handkerchief. Hands it over. I would recommend wiping your eyes. You look like a monster.
And Fanaa does wipe the blood that is starting to dry on their face. But as they do so, their eyes, all of their sclers kind of flick up at Auguste and they say, You think that I was condemned when I was turned. The truth is that I was saved.
I'm sure the people who had to die for you to be saved would say the opposite.
It's funny that you mentioned that. There were people who died afterwards. A family, actually. Less than 6 months after I was hungry. And they were innocent. It was horrible. But since then, no one has died. I've made sure of that. But you, I don't think you can say the same.
No. I cannot. The people who I have killed, they killed others. Innocents. They all, in their death, saved far more. For every undead abomination that I kill, I save hundreds of people.
Auguste, your chest tightens. Like a vice was around it. As you say, what you just said.
Well, I just ask you to consider what you do in the name of your God. In the name
I do
of
not do it
whoever.
in the name of my God. I do it for everyone who would, every innocent family that would be taken. I do it for a man named Henry, above all. He was a man that I loved more than any world could be filled with a love. He would have killed so many because a disease crept on him in an alleyway after coming home. And everyone I kill, I see him. And I would watch you die for a greater good. And then I would continue to kill people like you. Every day, if I could. For if I kill just one vampire, I save more than any one of you could.
Fanaa, before you respond, as this latest revelation from Auguste pours from his lips, your sight, the way that it sometimes does, reveal things to you. You see just the slightest thing that you couldn't see before. The grip of fingers on Auguste's shoulders and an arm wrapped tight across his chest. It is barely there, barely visible. An outline, maybe, what would be a specter, but isn't formed enough to be one. Just clinging, half existing memory. And that hand is gripping tighter.
And I think, without even thinking about it, without meaning to necessarily, the words kind of spill out of Fanaa's mouth, seeing this hand. You love him so much, his soul returned to you.
God, as much as Auguste wants to keep a straight face, there is a huge break. Because he has gone so long fully believing that vampires are just husks of bodies, not able to occupy a soul at all, and that everything is damned. And now hearing it is very... there is a shake of a breath that comes out. A fear, almost.
Do you want to speak to him?
It is human to grieve. I would rather not.
You're holding him back.
I would like us to pause on this scene for a moment and go back inside the club for a minute, as it is just now a replenished Madame Ime and Kim. Kane is around, but Kane is tending. There are other injured around. There are hungry kindred around who are just. Kane is tending to people. Your staff are tending to people. Your crew is dealing with the unfortunate deceased kindred in the club. Your crew is capable. They know what they're doing in that area. For all intents and purposes, it is effectively just the two of you in here.
I think almost. Oh, you muted?
I am muted. Mechanics question: how much did I heal, and what is my hunger reduced to?
Yes, you. Sorry, 1 second.
Okay.
You, I didn't open up my thing. You can heal, 2 superficial,
Perfect. So then I'm good.
and and erase 1 hunger.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry. What were you saying, Kim?
I think Kim is also among those who are trying to tend to the injured. She pulls out her own med kit and begins working as well as she can. Madame Ime, you would see that Kim is shaking and gasping, trying to hold something back, trying to busy her hands, her head hanging low.
Ime is steeling herself as well. She's a little shook. And without hesitation, catching a very unsteady Kim, she almost glides across the floor towards her and just holds her, collapses right next to her and just holds her lovingly, her head, bracing her head against her shoulder, and her other arm just there. It is a desperation, almost a outpouring of care, concern, love. She just holds on
Kim drops whatever she was holding, and you can feel her trembling in your arms as she leans up against you. And we don't need to breathe, but you can tell she's trying to take in everything that she can. It's almost as if old habits die hard, and she feels very human right now. And she buries her face into your shoulder, and you can feel wetness. And all she says is, Tracy.
It's okay. It's okay. Breathe. Just let it out. Let it out.
You can feel her fingers clutch into your back. She pushes against the fabric there, just holding against you.
Ime holds tighter and begins to sway. And as she does, her own tears start gently cascading down her cheeks. And she begins to hum very softly, broken, as there is carnage that just lays around them. I'm so sorry, Kim.
What are we supposed to do from here? They came into our home.
They did. They did. I don't know.
Sorry I couldn't protect you.
No. You did just fine.
She takes one of her hands and she gently presses it against your stomach where you were shot.
There's a little bit of a jovial but sad huff. No, he didn't want to kill me. Or he would have. It's a flesh wound.
If he does it again, I'm going to rip out his throat.
I don't blame you. He took your sister.
You can see as she leans back to look you in the eyes, she's crying, tears of blood streaming down her face.
My hands kind of rest on the side of your head, and my thumbs very gracefully just brush the tears away off your face, and I close my eyes and I just bring your forehead to mine, and I hold you there. We will be okay, even if it doesn't feel that way now. And you, Kim, are one of the bravest souls I have ever known. I wish I could bring your sister back. But we have to live. You have to live. And know that I will always, always be here, every step of the way. You are stuck with me.
You see a smile on her face that doesn't quite reach your eyes. She says, I'll be here with you until the end of my days. You are my sister now.
Ime chokes back words. For that, I am eternally grateful. I can never begin to repay you for that.
And Kim will hold you. And whispering against the side of your face, where the fuck did Fanaa go?
Enoch. Down the block. The club is still in your sights, but you're away enough from it that you're able to enjoy a moment of solemn quiet. It is interesting out on the city street now. The sound is back, it's normal, but by now it is quite the early hours of the morning, very technically. It is actually quiet, a normal quiet, as most people, even those out late at night, have stumbled into bed. As you step, please continue.
I'm just at between two buildings, like an alleyway.
Mm-hmm.
Still looking to make sure I have eyes on Auguste and Fanaa and the club, but every so often leaning against the wall and taking deep breaths, trying to steady myself. The mixture of anxiety and rage, trying to calm it down.
How is that going for you?
Not great.
Hmm.
I think the anxiety has faded. The anxiousness of being in the realm of the enemy, essentially, that's dissipated. But I think that leaves the rage even more room to breathe.
Mm.
And they're just doing their best to, at the very least, stop it from boiling over if they can't stamp it out completely. I think at least in that regard, they're succeeding.
Good. As you're winning this battle on your own, in yourself, very quiet sound, but when you feel against your hip, just a v- 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 v-
I'll
v-
reach into my pocket and pull out my phone.
it's home. Your house phone.
Think, oh, actually, I think there's a panic. The anxiety spikes all of a sudden as
Mm.
I answer the phone. Hello? Hello, Ellie, are you okay?
Hey, yeah, I'm fine. Where you're not here because, why
Yeah.
exactly?
Yeah. Why are you awake? It's still a school. Have you slept enough? You have school in a couple of hours.
Dad, okay. I didn't stay up all night, and if I had, what would I even be doing? Because someone took the switch out of the apartment. So, and I can't imagine who that is. I don't know. I woke up in the middle of the night. It got freezing cold and weird in here. And I got up to try to find the thermostat, and it says it's like 70, and I don't know, the last time I checked 70 did not feel like freezing. And I looked out onto the street and everything was just like there was like no one around, which is weird. Like, this is a busy neighborhood. Anyway, I went to go check. Everything seems fine. I just, well, I don't know, if
Yeah.
you had a job or a date or something,
I
you tell me, right?
I had a job. Yes, they called me in because they needed an extra person. One of our, Joe, he didn't come in for bouncer duties, so they called me to take over. So I'm there right now, but I will be on my way back now. Just give me a bit. Stay inside the apartment though, okay?
I wasn't planning on going anywhere. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I just don't understand where you are. I mean, if you're okay, you're on a job. I guess that's fine. I mean,
Ellie, I I need to start packing.
wait, wait. What do you got? What are we doing?
I we're gonna be leaving New York in a couple of days.
Camping? Or wait, wait. Are we going someplace full of magic?
We're
Like a place where dreams come true? Are we? Is it? Uh, you know what I mean?
I don't have the money for Disneyland, okay? But no, we're going to be
Okay.
we're moving, Ellie. We're moving.
Um, I'm sorry. I'm tired. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, as previously stated.
I know,
Um.
I know. Um,
So I
you
know you aren't telling me that we're moving at 3 o'clock in the morning because you're like a super good communicator who like keeps me really in the loop like all the time. So what are you talking
yes,
about?
um those people a couple of years ago now, um the ones that came for you,
Yeah.
I think they figured out where we are, so we need to move.
You hear her shuffling over the phone. um okay. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, like you're right. You said this would happen eventually. Like we would totally do this. And like
Uh,
it's gonna be an adventure.
It'll be fine. Yes.
And you hear her like jolting the suitcase out and like tossing it on the bed, and you hear like the sounds of her ruffling things. And she's like, can um you do are you you do have the switch, right? I mean, we're gonna need
Yeah,
that if we're going on
yes.
the lam. So this is gonna be
Ellie, it'll be
fine.
fine. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. Okay?
I don't I'm
I've
not
got you.
worried. I'm not worried.
I've got
It's
you.
good. Um when would you say? When would you say our because I have a there's just maybe someone I'd like to say goodbye to, but what is
Couple of
what's
days.
the ETA?
We're gonna
Few
see if we
days?
can leave at Sunday. Sunday.
Sure, Sunday. Great. No, I got a whole weekend. Okay. All right. You know what? Uh Pops, you take your time. And
I'll be right there soon. Okay? I'm sorry.
it's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be
Um,
fine.
yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's
Ellie,
good. Just,
Ellie, Ellie,
don't
I love
yeah.
you.
You hear the suitcase click closed. I love you too. Um,
It's gonna be
just
okay. Okay?
I'm good. I got the monitor on. I'm watching the door.
Okay. Um, the crepes are in the fridge if you want them still. You can have my share. I'll be back soon.
I'm gonna eat them all.
Please. Please do.
You
I'm
get
trying to
I'm telling you, you get none.
yes,
You
no.
leave in the middle of the night, you get no crepes.
Honestly,
All right.
fair punishment.
All right, I'll see you when you get home. You know the code. Don't scare me when you come back.
I won't, I promise. And I
Keep
do
your
have the
phone on.
Switch, and I've gotten way better at Mario Party, so you're gonna have some competition when we're on the road.
Good. Can I drive? You know what? No, I
Absolutely
should say.
not.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely
All right.
not. Okay.
That was too soon. Okay. Okay.
Talk to you soon.
Love you.
Love you too.
She hangs up.
Oh. I think the moment he heard Ellie's voice, and heard that she was fine, the anxiety disappeared, and I think the anger disappeared, and so did any adrenaline keeping him going. And he leans against the wall again and just fights back tears. This is the longest we've stayed in one place, and now that has been jeopardized. Um, he hates that he has to put Eleanor through that.
You have that moment of reflection. It lasts for a long moment. And then you and Auguste and Fanaa, who are both also out on the street at this time, you hear a sound just about a block away. If there is Fanaa and Auguste here on one end of the block, Enoch on the other, across the street from Enoch, just on the other side down that street. So in sort of like a triangle. Here you hear the sound of a sudden impact and a sound like a dog being struck suddenly, that whimpering sound. As your attention snaps to it, you see one of the hounds sort of apparate into existence as a creature on all fours, huge, beastly werewolf with scraggly fur, patchy in places, scars all over their wolf body, have sunken their teeth deep into one of these ghastly hounds that were not an hour ago trying to tear up this club. The hound now existing in physical space as it is being devoured.
Immediately have my pistol up at this werewolf, and yelling, "August, we have some trouble!" as I ready myself.
August goes to open his mouth to say something to Fanaa, and then the noise goes, and attention is immediately drawn. And then when calls, like, hobbles into the middle of the street on the cane, and then starts counting bullets.
What's wrong? What's happening?
I think the curse is spreading.
I need to grab the others. And Fanaa will, since we're just outside of the club, will turn and open the large doors, and for a second, like, hesitates as they see the scene inside. But given that something else is happening, I think they kind of push past it and they say, Madame Ime, Kim, I'm sorry to interrupt. There's something wrong outside.
I look up and I nod, and I kind of just like smooth Kim's hair real quick, and I place a gentle, like, both my hands gently on her shoulders, and I give her a knowing nod, and I stand. Kane, darling, please make sure that I have all my contacts. We're going to be needing to make some phone calls soon. And I kind of like slap the tears from my face because
Yeah.
I'm, whatever, can't see me like this. As I look down at Kim and offer her a hand and would lead the both of us outside.
As you help me up, I get up and I bend down, pick up my habit, scrunching it in my hand, and I begin to fix my hair and head. And as I'm pushing past Fanaa, stepping out into the street, I murmur low underneath my breath and I say, I feel like at this rate I'm gonna have to fuck or kill something tonight. Gee. Christ.
And Fanaa hears that, I assume, as you're sort of passing them. And they just kind of, inappropriate as the situation is, can't help but I think like laugh a little at that out loud. Nobody else probably understands what is so funny, but they laugh and they follow Kim.
The group of you investigating the sound that Enoch alerted you to, and that Fanaa has gathered you to come see. As you make your way over to the corner where Enoch was standing and you can fully see the sight, the hound, the spectral hound that was, if it was not one that was just in your club, it is the same kind, certainly. And the werewolf that has their teeth fully sunken into its jaw has ripped it to shreds. The shreds that are being thrown are dissipating as they hit the ground. And as the hound fully is destroyed, the werewolf looks up, starts to morph and shift, and a face of a kind of ratty and interesting looking feminine face, covered, ichor, spilling out of her sort of crooked, tooth-filled mouth as she looks up. The hound beneath her paws that have now turned freshly back into hands has dissipated, and all that is left is the ichor that is just dripping from her mouth as she looks up and is like, oh, there you are! Oh man, I was looking everywhere for you. As the face of Amber returns out of this werewolf's form, think we should take a break before we react to
My
that.
favorite Amber.
Goddamn.
Oh my
favorite
god.
sweet bean.
Get a drink. Goodbye.
Yes, and keep an eye in chat. Oh, ready, go.
Oh yeah. Take a
I was
sip, get a
quickly-
drink.
Hi, yeah,
Keep an eye in
keep-
chat.
for the giveaway. Yeah. Okay.
Giveaway.
Now we can go. Bye.
Now we can go. Bye. Hello, welcome back. You just saw a werewolf devour one of these hounds in real space as it dissipated, as its body was destroyed. The werewolf's face melted back away, its mangled, kind of bloodied and ichor-soaked fur changed back into a human grin as Amber leans up from the corpse she devoured a moment ago, grin wide. Hi! I've been looking everywhere for you. Oh my god. Whew.
Quick question, because I know that this is technically my first time looking at this werewolf. Do I know them to be part of the tribe that I'm connected with?
No. No, they do not look terribly familiar to you at all.
Okay. So I kind of like, I'm going to sit back and I'm just looking perplexed.
Fanaa takes a step back as Amber is here and supposedly probably moving a little bit towards us. She's excited, but Fanaa, for all intents and purposes, thinks that Amber is the reason that all of this has even happened. That they allowed themselves to be tricked by Amber, and that is why the other hounds are here. And so Fanaa takes a step back and I think grabs onto Madame Ime's like arm. And just kind of like whispers, that's the werewolf.
Ime holds on to Fanaa tightly. And my gaze narrows. I'm sorry, do I know you, dear?
No? No. I only know Fanaa. I met like last night. And like looks up as the sun is just barely starting to crest. It is not daylight remotely, but the like hue of the night is starting to change. Um yeah, I just met Fanaa last night, and then well, I don't know if you know this, but like everything went absolutely bonkers off the rails like a couple hours after. Anyway, I was looking for you. And I couldn't find you. I thought you were gonna maybe come to our meeting, but that's okay. Didn't happen because well, everything went wrong with the night apparently. I'm not really sure exactly what is going on, but I'm trying to. I'm working on it. I
Well, you found me. What do you want?
oh,
You've already caused enough havoc. You could drop the act now, Amber.
I didn't. And she looks back down at the street and sees that the body is not there of the hound that she just ate. Uh. Uh. Well, I was coming to find you because I thought you might be in trouble. But you look fine. Uh.
Why would you think that they would be in trouble?
Well. Um. So. Sorry. Oh, you're Madame Ime, right? You like run the club
Bloodlust,
down the
yes.
yeah. Okay. And she gives like a sort of like awkward curtsy. She's wearing tattered jeans, so she's not in a dress. She's like, madam, I was just looking for Fanaa, another um because well, so it's kind of a long, it's kind of a story. Can we
No.
okay. So it's so basically I was at a meeting. We had this meeting with the other werewolves, and I was gonna try to like um pitch a thing because you know what? Some of the okay. So Fanaa is I know some of
We
the
already know. Yes, let's
okay,
skip
great.
the frilly details.
Okay, okay, yeah, fast forwarding. So anyway, at the meeting, these sort of creepy wispy dudes showed up, and they were like, do you want to join our club to haunt the night or whatever? I don't know. It was like really creepy. And I was like, no, I don't know you. But a couple of werewolves were like, yeah, we so do. And I
Was
didn't love
Jabari
that.
amongst them?
Oh, so well, they were there. But no, they didn't go with them.
Good.
But some of the wolves in our uh club they did. I don't really know them all that well. Because I don't really do the whole pack bonding.
What did you say your name was, darling?
Amber.
Amber.
Sup? Hey.
Interesting, Amber. We had something similar happen.
Yeah. Well, they were like talking about like a hunt thing happening. And a bunch of people went with them. And well, I know Fanaa. Well, I just was worried that they might be looking for them. So I tried to see if I could find you, but it seems to have passed, I think. So and you're here, so you're good. Um so that's it. I guess I'll just
You didn't send the hounds?
the 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 ghostly hounds? No, I hate one of them, and it doesn't taste great. Truth be told, which is interesting because usually I find that like pretty much everything tastes good when you're in your were form. Like like things that are normally disgusting to me totally taste awesome.
Did you see this hound in your wolf form? Can you see them now?
No, I don't see him now. I don't even see, like, she's still wiping at her face, which was seconds ago covered in this like ichor that's now gone. I don't even see. I know. I know that I just ate one. Um,
Is it gone for us too?
yeah,
But we're seeing in color now too.
you are seeing in color now.
I'm essentially trying to ask more details about like did Amber take down this hound when we saw color?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll
And-
lean into Madame Ime and murmur, I think this werewolf might prove useful to us if they can see the hounds.
I take out my phone real quick and I send a very quick text to Kane to call Jabari and have him meet us. And then I look to Enoch and to Auguste. Well, gentlemen, it looks like your night has gotten a little bit longer, but we have more information.
Enoch, I think, had lowered his pistol upon seeing Fanaa initially flinch at the approach of Amber, and has been watching and listening the entire time, and had their gaze almost locked on the ground where the um, hound had materialized and then faded away. So he almost watched it fade away right before his eyes, and has been like slowly stepping towards Auguste. And as Madame Ime speaks to them, they glare daggers at her,
She meets them.
not saying a word. And then, still glaring at Madame Ime, they will speak to Auguste. It looks like, at the very least, werewolf fangs are useful against these things, and maybe claws.
It looks like, and she is glaring daggers back. It also appears that they can see them in color.
I could probably
Jeez.
work on something that will allow us to see it properly. But I might need some time. Maybe a day.
I will need to do more research.
You can have access to my library if you need it. It's not at the club.
I also may need access to 2 more things. Looks at Fanaa and then kind of gestures toward Amber. There are 2 important players here who could prove useful.
Agreed.
Uh, 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 Fanaa?
Yeah.
You got humans with you. Are they cool?
Hunters.
Okay.
I've killed many of your kind.
Great,
I'll say
cool.
to Amber.
Yeah,
There have been multiple stabbings and gunshots tonight.
heck. Okay. Cool.
You don't have to stay if you don't want to.
I don't think. I mean, did you all see what I saw? Because, like, I don't really understand. I'm not like a brainy sort. I don't really, I don't know a lot about what's going on, but it was bad. So if if you're not gonna kill me tonight, I'd love to maybe
If you'd want to
brainstorm.
do something about it, then I think you are welcome here. So long as you don't threaten our family and our guests.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruffle any feathers or anything like that. I just kind of stumbled into this.
That's the thing, darling. I think we all did. They took my kindred away from me. They caused an array of damage. They destroyed my home. And I will rest at nothing, even if that means working with hunters to ensure that they are brought down.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I could tell you what happened. I mean, yeah, they also made some of us go. And I shifted, which was not my plan tonight. I planned for a chat and a cup of coffee and a bubble bath. But I'm gonna need to put that off. I guess.
We have coffee.
And bubble baths.
Oh. Okay. Well, but okay. So I I don't. And she comes closer timidly, but is now on the same side of the street as you, so she doesn't have to shout. Staying a little bit closer to the kindred than the hunters. It's a bit of a gamble as to who maybe wants her dead more. Um I so so I uh well they they took some of the wares with them and couldn't be stopped. That just happened. And we tried. I don't know them that well, but they could not be stopped. And then well, I saw the hounds, those dog things, like running around up and down the street and like tearing into to people. It was all gray, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is confusing because sometimes when I'm in wolf form, everything's a little gray, but it was gray, like so no color whatsoever. And then, um, well, I followed them and I tried to track one down, and then, well, something weird was happening where like they were attacking people, but nothing was nothing seemed to happen. They would attack them, and the people would
Gasp.
like gasp and yeah and react, but nothing was happening to their bodies, right?
They were
um
taking their souls as they ran through them, severing them from their body.
well, so just this last one, I tried attacking a bunch of them, and it like didn't do much. And I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm usually pretty strong. I'm a strong werewolf. I'm I've been through it, but it didn't do much. But then this last one, um I kind of like, I think I followed it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, into the dark place where it really exists. And then I think I pulled it out.
You didn't do that.
Well, I mean, I don't know how exactly, but I did it. I think. I mean, I killed it. I know that I killed it, and I know that I it was here.
I saw it.
You saw it, right? Yeah, see?
What do
You
you
know,
mean you followed it?
I don't really have a great answer for you. Um, but I just sort of
I
did.
I might be able to help you figure that out, but and Fanaa's eyes I think go up to the sky where the light is starting to shift. But we should head inside.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it's been a it's been a night. I am not used to shifting on not full moons. Wow, what a time. If I'm uh not welcome inside, which I totally get, and she like also does that bow again, madam. I understand totally. But you all of the kindred sort, obviously should get to a safe sunless place. Um I I don't know what I can do exactly to help. But I'd love to.
I have an idea. If we head
Okay.
inside.
Okay.
Well, we can head upstairs to the apartments. my apartment specifically, if that is okay with everyone. And she looks over to Enoch and Auguste.
I'm going home.
We have things we need to get.
All right.
Let them go, madam.
Upstairs, top floor. It's the only one there. It's unmarked. You can let yourselves in should you choose to come by. Enoch. Ime steps closer and just opens her phone and shows him a picture of Amaya watching his building. If you need any information about her, I know it all. I know I said I was sorry and I meant it. I am a woman of my word and I let you down. And I'm not ashamed to admit that.
He glares at this image, and I don't think Enoch knows Amaya. He saw many faces in when he used to work with the agency, and doesn't remember all of them. Mainly his squadron, and Amaya wasn't one of them. But I think he recognizes maybe a sigil of the IAO on it, um, and grits his teeth. For people who don't know, the IAO is the Information Awareness Office. They're kind of like the governmental monster hunters. And he grits his teeth. See his jaw clench. I don't need anything. I'll deal with this.
I want to be clear, I only just found out about that. And I may not agree with you fundamentally on almost everything, but I understand the importance of family. Safe travels, and I will see you both shortly.
Enoch doesn't reply, and he walks down the street to where he parked his motorbike.
August, what do you do?
August kind of absorbs this conversation and then looks up to the changing color palette of the sky. Looks back, looks at like everyone individually. Fanaa, who's this person who has some sort of key to this and this bizarre human element that August hasn't faced before, and then Kim, who is clearly struggling with the religion of it all, and this relationship with God, and then at Ime, this person who they have been at odds with basically for years and have attempted to kill each other on numerous times, and now there's this like, Ime is making sure that they're all fine, and then walks and follows off after Enoch. I imagine Enoch gets on the bike and then goes to leave, and then Auguste just steps into the middle of the road in Enoch's way, so Enoch has to stop.
Yeah, he'll stop. You can't see his face as he has the helmet on, the tinted visor, but you see the head look up at you.
You did not tell me you had a daughter.
He's not biological, or even really legal.
We no longer compromise our humanity, no matter the They are all that matter.
I have worked with a decent amount of people in this general industry, and I'd be lying if I said that you weren't the most competent one I've worked with. But our views on what we're willing to do to keep the living safe differs. If need be, I will use the abilities that I borrow or forcibly take if I need to from those werewolves or blank bodies, if it means at the end of the day, Illinois is safe.
And there may come a time where you do not come back. You will take an ability and it will take you over. You walk home, and then I will deal with you.
There's
We
a
do not-
laugh, a muffled laugh in the helmet. Let's hope that day doesn't have to come. I don't want to take your other leg.
You are very good at being human, and a hunter that I trust above else. I think it would benefit everyone if you also learned how to be a father, and you did not sacrifice parts of yourself. You and I, we will both see the sunrise in full color in 3 days. But if you willingly and freely give yourself to things that we cannot control, then neither of us will.
There's a moment of silence as through the helmet you can feel Enoch staring at you. Just the sounds of early morning New York really making any kind of noise. And he looks at you, Auguste, and says, I gave this word to Madame Ime and I'm going to give it to you, Auguste. I will do what needs to be done. And I'll start my motorbike and ride around him and head home.
August
You-
waits in the street and absorbs the conversation and then leaves.
Enoch, you ride home. It is a breezy ride. It is before all traffic. You get home in no time at all. When you arrive, it is you don't have to do anything to enter the building. The moment that Eleanor sees you on camera, on the security camera at the front door, she has been waiting there. She buzzes instantly the second that you appear in frame. And when you appear in the apartment, you see the bags packed in the hallway, her sitting on top of them, trying to seem very cool about the host situation. All right, where are we going, old man? What's next?
I will be honest, as he sits down, he's kind of like still drying off. I imagine like the ride here dried him off pretty much, but you can still
Mhm.
see some dried blood on his shirt
Mhm.
as he enters. And I think this is like so as far as Eleanor is aware, Eleanor doesn't know about the world of darkness.
Yeah.
And as Enoch's day and occasional night job, he's a bouncer slash bodyguard at a separate club, not Madame Ime's. So
Mhm.
even when he's not hunting, he does sometimes come in with a few cuts and bruises
Yeah.
from especially rowdy patrons. Um, but I think even now he'll be kind of like trying his best to cover up as soon as possible. So he'll be like immediately beeline for his room as he's like yelling out from his room, answering Eleanor as he's getting changed and putting bandages on. Yeah, and I haven't actually planned on where exactly we're going, but we can take the next couple of days to pick our best destination. I've got some money saved up, so finding a place to rent out at the very least shouldn't be too much of an issue until we find a way to really find our footing again. Um, but that's all for Sunday. We've got time.
Cool. So I have like say today I could I could go say goodbyes and stuff. Right?
Yeah, no, of course. Just make sure you have your phone on you. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Of course I got the backup battery and the backup battery for the backup battery,
Yeah.
like we always talked about. Are
All right.
you I mean, you tell me, right? If like if I should, if I should be really worried.
By
Maybe this
now, Enoch has changed into drier, less blood-stained clothes. Have like band-aids on their wounds, and kind of like steps out of his room and sits beside Eleanor. No, you have nothing to worry about. Nothing serious. Serious enough for us to move, um, but they'll have to get through me, okay? And that's not happening.
yeah. No, you're shit at Mario Kart, but you're pretty good in a real brawl. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. I trust you. It's good. So I'm just gonna go see my buds. My phone's on. I'll keep it on. I'll answer. I'll leave my suitcases right here, just I got some people I need to make sure I see.
Yeah.
Uh and I'll meet.
Have you had breakfast? Did you eat the crepes?
Not feeling like super breakfasty today. More like, a late lunch. Early lunch. Brunch. I'm gonna have brunch. Yeah.
He grabs Eleanor and just pulls her into a hug. Just a gentle squeeze as he kisses her on the top of her head.
She squeezes
I,
back.
I know this is a lot. You're taking it like a champ, but I know it's a lot. You don't need to pretend.
I just You know that you're my number one, right? You're
Yeah, and you're mine.
but I had like a lot of close seconds here. So
Oh,
I just I need to figure that out.
I will let her go, but kind of cup her face in my hands. I want to meet this boy you've been talking about.
Why he invited?
Just a deep sigh. No, I go meet him because I know that's where you're going.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what I can do
Okay.
so you don't have to leave your seconds.
Okay.
I can't. There's no promises.
Nope.
But I'm going to do what I can.
You got it. You're the best. No hopes up. But I'm gonna go say my goodbyes just in case. But I appreciate that. Do your best. Don't die. Call me. Okay?
I will. And text me when you get there so I know you're safe.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
Location.
where are you going specifically? I just realized you said you're meeting your friends. Where exactly are you going to meet your friends?
Oh yeah, brunch just on the other side of the park.
Okay.
You know, it won't be that far.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Text me when you get there.
Okay, will do. Okay. And she like runs. Bye, Pops, love you. And like the door slams shut as she rockets down the stairs.
I from the image that Madame Ime sent me or
Mhm.
showed me,
Yes.
can I gauge where that is?
I don't even think it's that hard. You have security cameras positioned around your apartment. You are very familiar with the overlay is. You know that it's just like across the street, not directly in front of your apartment, but like towards the side of the building. You definitely can get a gauge as to what window to look out of if you wanted to, or what camera to look through.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see if I can figure it out from the cameras where exactly um that agent had been stationed when that photo was taken.
Yes. It doesn't take you very long. You check a couple of locations until you find what matches. In the light of day, right now, at this very moment, there does not seem to be that person stationed there. A lot of these patrols, these pictures that Madame Ime has shared with you do seem to be at night. Um, but you can see the location where it is.
Enoch waits like 3 minutes after or longer as it took him some time to find the location of the cameras, but would then go to his room, go to the um bathroom that's connected to it, unlock it, and put the door open. And in the bathroom, like I mentioned before, he's kind of used this place as an armory. It's always locked. Eleanor doesn't know about it. He just always had it locked. And he's gonna start kitting himself out with some weaponry, and some gear. Um, bringing out a knife that he straps to his thigh, a pistol, reloads, like brings out more cartridges of the pistol, just normal bullets this time, no silver or anything like that.
Mhm.
So I imagine he would put some silver cartridges in his bag anyway, just in case he runs into it. But his current mission is very human as he stocks up. And I think I need to roll for this, but some wireless cameras if I can.
Yeah, so if you want to bring additional wireless cameras that you can monitor, do you want to be monitoring your apartment from when you leave it, or are you looking to monitor things?
Yeah, I'm looking to monitor that building that I know, or at least I know this agent was once using as a base. Whether or not they're still using it, I don't know. But I want to have like eyes and ears on and in there as well if I don't find anyone there in the
Yeah.
morning.
All right. So roll me a wits technology to see what you're able to get.
And I think I do have an ability for this.
Oh, if you have something special, tell me
Yeah.
what you're going to use.
Let me just make sure. Okay. You know, I think it's specifically weapons for this. So no, I'll roll.
Yeah.
That. So you said technology wits.
Yes.
Would this be a thing I can use my
You can
desperation
use
die for?
You can. You can.
What is my desperation at this point?
So desperation is no longer at 3. The situation is less, but it is at 2 now. Not by much. Just tell me what the separate roll is for the desperation dice.
Oh yeah, I forgot to do that separately. Two. It's a D10. D10, right?
Yep.
I'm playing so many games. I'm like, what dice are we using?
I know.
Okay. So two successes. No successes on the desperation die, but there is a 1 in the desperation die.
Okay. You are more frantic about this than you probably thought you were. This situation is very personal all of a sudden to you. You're able to get one very well working camera. But what you wind up doing is you wind up disabling one of your home cameras to make it work. So you now have a portable camera that you have access to, that you can watch from your phone wherever you place it, it will work. But that is one of your security cameras from home missing.
Yeah.
Auguste, you are left in the wake of the motorcycle as it sped off, and you walk back. I don't know if you recall, but your car was parked quite far away.
Yeah, I was thinking that
What?
in the wake, because I know that I said that August walks back to the car and drives off.
No, please update me.
I am not sure that they do. I think because Enoch and August set up shop in a shop.
Yeah.
I think August walks there, picks up the last of the gear, the stuff that Enoch left behind, if anything. But like they had like religious symbols and like some like a lot of
So
protection.
you went back to that
since
warehouse.
and then
Okay.
picks up the things and is going to go back to the club.
Okay. As you are walking there to the warehouse instead, there is, especially in the quiet of this early morning, as night is passing, and as you are now no longer surrounded by chaos, by the shouting, by people fighting, by strange characters in the night, and you are just by yourself, that is when that phantom grip on you is almost real. You feel for just a few moments as though there is an actual hand on your shoulder, an arm around your chest. And then the sun fully comes up and you feel it start to dissipate as you walk.
I think be overly true. I think reflexively on feeling the hand on the shoulder and like arm around them, they shake and like bat like they've just felt like a bug on them. And then turns around to where logically the spectre would be, in this empty street. No. You had your chance. It is done now. It is too late. Not. Please. Not now. I need to work.
The sun rises and it's gone. You got what you asked for.
And then, like, you snap at a loved one because of stress, and that, again, immediate, like, harrowing guilt hits them. You just breathe, and then puts a hand on their shoulder, like they're trying to grasp for the hand, but it's too late. He already snapped. And
you gather things from the warehouse. There's not much. Maybe a couple of guns, maybe a couple of stakes left behind, things like that. Is there anything in particular you are looking for, or are you just gathering up the mess here and moving back to the club?
it's just kind of everything. Speaking of when going into the club, Auguste was already unprepared, and that's not how he does business. He takes months, almost a year, to like track someone down and then executes things perfectly. And now there is at most 3 days. This is not.
Yeah.
Auguste is fully like attempting to remember Enoch's words of Enoch being like, "You are the most like competent."
Yeah.
But also like, this is not me. I can't, this is too soon. I am just not ready. Is not ready to face whatever it is. Doesn't, like, vampires are the only target, and now they're working with them, and nothing, it's not time.
Yeah.
I need more. Picks up everything. that he can carry. He looks a bit silly walking out the door. Looks at the cross that was hanging above
Mm.
and considers taking it, but doesn't know if everyone is just going to burst into flames if he takes the cross into the club. Takes it anyway. Gets out his phone and types in Enoch's number and then waits for a second to really wanting to call. And then shakes his head and then deletes the number and then just puts his phone away and walks toward the club.
While all this has transpired, Kim, Madame Ime, Fanaa, you all head back up with Amber. Amber is in tow, timidly, but following your lead to ensure that she is welcome as you head up to the apartments above the club, specifically Madame Ime's apartment. Madame Ime, can we know what your apartment looks like?
Sure, it is lavish. I
Mm.
mean, I have been on this planet for 222 years. You best believe I have some of the finest fabrics. It's bougie. Like, if you think of like a succubus's den, that's exactly what it is. It is red velvet and silk. It is candles. It is the most opulent coffins. It is, sheer drapes that just hang from the ceiling. It is darkness. There's gargoyles and like candelabras and elaborate carvings in tables and gold plates and gold lined, champagne flutes. It is bougie. And it is huge. It is very much the entire top of that building. And as you walk in, it is just this grand archway that is marbled, and there is a fountain in the center of a lion's head, and there are pieces of African, masks and statues and weaponry and things that adorn the walls as you walk through every so often. And as you move past that foyer, you get to a large, round couch that is literally just circular, and everybody has a place to sit. And there are a couple of people who nod and are scantily clad as they welcome Ime home. They have already prepared, breakfast or dinner for her should she choose it. There is, different bits of like vitae on tap. It is extravagant.
And am I correct in assuming that Kim has been here before?
Both Kim and Fanaa have been
Kim
here
and
before.
Fanaa. Okay.
Yes.
Good to know.
I would say that if they choose, because the entire top of the building is all apartments for Kindred and the like, and they were both set up with like apartments furnished as they chose. But there is also guest rooms up here should they choose to stay here, which they have done, I would assume, on more than a handful of occasions.
Entering in there's just sort of a whoa from Amber.
Yep. Yes, darling.
I mean, madam,
Amber.
good job
Oh,
with
thank you.
the whole. It's good. It's good. It's good in here.
Are you? And like, there are blackout curtains, and they're not just like blackout curtains. They're the kind of curtains that like
Yeah.
are mechanical and like completely block out sun. So they've already been lowered. And I look over to the three of them at this point. Is anybody hungry for something? Anything?
Yes, something with nicotine in it.
Of
Please.
course, darling. And you see this, I don't want to say Twinkie, but a little Twinkie. You see him kind of like saunter out as he's smoking a cigarette, and he just kind of sits down and offers his
Yeah.
arm.
Yeah.
Without any ceremony whatsoever, Kim just grabs him and just drinks. She is quite rough.
I feel
Good
like
with
he
it.
likes
He
it.
continues to vape as as it goes down. Okay, so I that's I look, this is great. This is a wicked cool place. But we should talk, right?
Yes, come sit.
Okay.
And I would say at that point there is somebody who has brought you Fanaa, specifically like fresh lamb's blood.
Thank you. And Fanaa, I think, like sets it down on a table nearby, but doesn't go to drink it just yet. It seems that they are preoccupied at the moment, and they turn to Amber and they say, "You were able to do the one thing that none of us know how to do, which is actually hurt these hounds in some real way. I think I might have an idea of how we might be able to speed up the process of discovery for you."
Oh. Uh, um I was just hoping I could be like an informant. I don't want to like but okay. All right. All right. Sure. Sure. I can go with the flow on things. Um what do you got? What do you got?
Have you ever been to the Invisible Four?
The invisible what?
The other side, so to speak.
Oh, okay. So no. Um, except now that you kind of mention it, I'm wondering if that's where I kind of went for like half a second when I pulled that thing out. Like maybe that's what happened.
And Fanaa offers their hand to Amber. "I need you to come with me."
Okay.
Okay. This might feel strange to you and to me, but
Huh?
if you trust me, I think this will help.
Like I met you like 10 hours ago. You're like basically my best friend. So let's do it.
And Fanaa, I think, goes to take their other hand that's not in Amber's and moves it up towards Amber's mouth and hovers there for a second and asks, "May I?"
Okay.
And Fanaa takes their thumb and like goes into Amber's mouth to their canines and starts to rub along the tooth with their thumb. And Storyteller, mechanically,
Yeah, I'm
what
here.
I would like to do
Hi.
is I would like to use premonition, which
Yeah.
allows me to focus on a subject to invoke some sort of premonition, flash of insight, sudden inspiration, vision, etc.
Yeah.
This does require a rouse check and a resolve aspects roll from me.
Okay. Excellent. I love it. Please make that roll. Let's see what we could do. Are you hunting for any specific premonition, or would you like me to just give you what I give you?
So I am specifically hunting for how did basically in the future, theoretically, when Amber does this again, because I presume Amber can and will, trying to gain some sort of insight into how exactly does Amber do that? How is she able to get into this dark place or wherever these hounds are from? Trying to basically like reverse engineer by watching it happen.
Excellent.
So that ideally we can be a little bit more intentional about doing it again.
Okay. Fantastic. Got it. Yes. Let me know what your roll is.
So give me 1 second to just roll that. I succeeded my rouse check. I have okay, I have 3 successes, 1 on a non-hunger die.
Non-hunger. Okay, great. And 3 successes total. So here is what you see. Your hands like still entangled in Amber, her looking just like stunned and perplexed, and you see this kind of living memory of just maybe about an hour ago. You see the chaos at this meeting. It's like a empty room, coffee on a folding table, folding chairs. It's very informal, incredibly informal compared to everything you've seen at Ime's club. And you see like wares turning and resisting the call. You see this sort of like incredible struggle happening. You see the hounds tearing into some of the wares, and you see some of them, because the wares are alive, you see some of their souls detach like with the humans, and some of them you see follow and start to follow them. You see Amber kind of in the middle of it start to run away. And through her eyes, you see her turn back, hesitate. You can even hear at this point her breathing as she and like runs back inside, and still human at this point, tries to start tearing people away and out of the building with her. And that's when you see her involuntarily start to shift herself. The moment that changes is when she shifts. You see that she is seeing the wolves, these hounds. There is almost like a split screen. They exist in both worlds at once. They are in this corporeal sense, and they are in the next world. When she chases one down the street and she is hunting it, she's hunting it in this world while it exists in the parallel. And right as you met her on that street corner is where you see things change. She reaches in and lunges at it, bites into it, and nothing happens. And then she lunges further and leaps in and crosses over, and you see in her vision so much darkness. That ichor dripping everywhere. It is no longer gray, it is red and dark and echoing and scary, frightening. That whimper you heard that alerted you to her existence, you now realize is the sound of her panicking as she grips this thing, and not intentionally, but in fear of where she ended up, completely by accident, as she jolts herself backwards, accidentally grabbing this thing and pulling it back with her. It becomes abundantly clear to you that she can do this. It doesn't seem that she did it with intent. It doesn't seem that she knew what she was doing, but it doesn't seem also like it was particularly hard. It seemed like with intent, you could do it. But it did definitely frighten her in a way that you even feel echo through that memory. She comes out, she is channeling that fear into rage on this hound's body. And you snap back to the living room. She is shaking.
Fanaa with vitae dripping from their eyes. They pull their hand back as they kind of gasp back into the present, into reality. The other hand still holding onto Amber's, and it takes a second as they close their eyes and open it again. And they say, "Thank you, Amber."
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
They turn to Ime and to Kim. "It's not hard. You can do it again." And they turn to Amber. "If you tried."
Uh, okay. Yeah, um like just me, or
Well, that's the thing is, I think, and Fanaa will turn to Kim.
You see Kim is wiping their mouth, shoving a candy bar into the human feeder's hand and more or less shoving them away.
I wonder if we might be able to do it too. Nothing about what I saw suggested that it was specific to your kind, Amber.
God. Okay. Good. I'm not really particularly interested in going back there.
If I can put my hands on it, then I can kill it.
Ime is lost in her phone for a moment. I've invited Jabari over as well. He is one of the leaders of the local packs. He is equally as pissed off.
Well, yeah, I mean, he would be. A lot of his pack. Well,
Yeah,
it was rough.
for us too. I, for one, and she moves over to this ornate fireplace that is not lit, and she stares idly at this very, very, very old photo of a bunch of beautiful black women with braids and short hair and amazing hairstyles and tribal markings and paint with spears and staves. And there's one that looks very, very much like Ime, off to the off center. I would gladly go to wherever they are to pull them limb from limb. I will never be caught off guard like that again.
I mean, it was all kind of chaos for us. Did they say anything to you? Talk to you? Give you anything?
3 days, ghost riders, collecting.
They're hunting
Bunch-
me.
Fanaa, everybody's hunting you. I mean, not to, but that's, that was the whole reason I went to go look for you, because everybody wants to hurt you and it sucks because you're pretty neat. But I'm sorry. If you could just back up like one little second. Did you see ghost riders?
That's what they called themselves. Scouts.
Oh, okay. That's a thing. I mean that's a thing. I've okay, it's not like a thing that I know anything about like literally, but that it's a thing. Do you do you have lots of ghost friends? Do you have any ghost friends?
A few.
I think there's a
So-
ghost in the church.
Oh, that's the perfect place to look. Church ghosts are like usually super old. Yeah, we should talk to a church ghost. But I'm pretty sure. Okay, so like I heard a ghost say something about a ghost rider once, and I thought it was kind of like, well, to be honest, I thought they were just,
Maybe we should wait for the hunters.
we should, but let's put that. I think that might be something. August, around now is when you would be approaching and heading in. Enoch. Oh, yes. go
Just
ahead.
as a note, before August arrives, while
Yes.
this conversation is happening,
Yes.
Fanaa would have texted August, whose number they now have,
Yes.
and would have texted August to let him know, I know, I know how to kill them. Make sure you're ready.
August texts back. How? Question mark, and then always in response to be ready.
I have a question.
Please.
When Fanaa texts, does Fanaa use proper caps? Do you use any emojis? And does August put a period at the end of every sentence?
August is all fire emojis. It's fire emojis. That's it, actually. I know how to kill them, and August just sends back a fire emoji. That's it.
Dear God. Fanaa is a writer, so I think that they are very particular about like proper spelling, proper grammar, all of the everything. Throughout it all. They use emojis very sparingly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and
So
August is very much full stop at the end of sentences and correct punctuation.
Yeah.
Honestly, this feels like an email communication more than anything, probably.
It really does.
Yeah. There's a
Hello,
signature,
August. I
like
hope
a
this
dash
I hope
August
this
at
text
the end
finds
of
you well.
Yeah,
every
absolutely.
text message.
Sincerely.
Like, hey,
But
August,
it
hope
even
this text
starts
finds you
with-
well.
Yeah, for now. Thank
Per
you for
my
the
last
text.
As per my last communication. Yeah, so I think the only response that you get from Fanaa to that question is, I send my soul into the invisible.
August, another text message comes through your phone before you're able to respond to the last one you got. It is from your contact at the agency. You can tell because it's coming from a private number again. And it just says, how'd everything go? Question mark. Enoch, you're
Yes.
alone. You have the house to yourself. You have time. You have the day. Your surrogate is off and sharing location with you. But you have time.
Yeah.
The vampires are about to be joined by Auguste upstairs, and this starts the clock ticking of the 3 days you have until nightfall on the 3rd, when the Ghost Riders finally arrive. We will pick up for our finale from here with what you do to prepare and their arrival. And that is Enemy of My Enemy.
Unpleasant. I wish to keep going. That is unpleasant.
Gross. I also do, and I'm so sorry, but we have more to do. We do have more preparation, and we do have a final showdown to occur. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 4 of Enemy of My Enemy, Vampire the Masquerade, Hunter the Reckoning, together as one. Hello, thank you. A major thank you to Demiplane for hosting us, for supporting this. Thank you to Hero Forge for sponsoring us. And an amazing thank you to all of our players. I would like to do a quick little round if we could, and I think what we'll start with Stella and go back around the opposite way. I will no, we'll start with me. We'll go back the opposite way too. Yeah. Hi, I'm Dillin. I am Super Dillin everywhere on the internet. I'm an actual play performer and RPG writer, and I'm so thrilled to be here. This is the best crew of dark creatures I could ever ask for. If we could go to Stella from here.
Hello, I am Stellaluna on Twitch, Stellaluna TV on all other social media. I'm a TTRPG producer and performer, and today I was a very sad Kim who has lots of feelings. And yeah, you can find all my stuff on my Twitter. Thanks. Hamnah, you go.
No. Hello, everybody. My name is Hamnah. I use any and all pronouns, and I am a TTRPG performer and producer. You can find me on all social medias at Lilith TTRPG. Today, I was Fanaa, who is trying so hard to fix everything, and perhaps in a misguided way. We'll find out, I guess. If you want to see me play a different kind of vampire who is misguided in a different kind of way, you should check me out on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time over on Bad House RPG's channel for Itaewon by Night. It is season 2. We are coming back. We have another guest. It's going to be great. Over there, I play a very unhinged cop killer. So, ACAB. And with that, I will pass it down to Raven.
Hi, I'm Raven. They, she, any. I play Madame Ime. Very she, they. Very boss ass bitch. Very you came into my house and I'm about to cut you. Very with your big, weird, dopey head ass type shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where I came from, but that's where I'm at. I'm just feeling it.
That's just where it's at.
Yeah, it's just where it's at. Like, we about to throw hands. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm a little wired right now. This was an amazing episode. I am going to give it... Oh, I'm a TTRPG performer, obviously. I'm here. That's it. Okay, goodbye. I'm giving it to Matt.
Hello, beautiful wonderful people. How's it going? Thank you so much for coming along. I appreciate it. My name is Matt, they, he. We love that they. Captain Krail on all things. If you go onto a social media platform and you type in Captain Krail, if I'm on it, I will appear. Aside from this, the main thing I do is I GM SG, which is Space God, the Adamless Space God, which is an award-nominated, didn't forget at that time, an award-nominated Starfinder podcast. It's beautiful. We have both the actual play, which has us talking about mechanics and you know it's exactly the same. We have our faces, but we also have the podcast, which we take out all the mechanics talk. And then we add music and sound effects, and sometimes people are like, "Ooh, can we take that scene again?" And then I add in that. And when I say people, I mean me. When I mess up a monologue, I just do it again because I edit it. So if you want to listen to a little bit, I know, right? It's great. People think I'm way better than I am because I just retake it until it's good.
Oh my god!
If you want to listen to. If you want to listen to a beautiful improvised audiobook, then type in the ad on us on any podcast. And then going to my favorite hunter, Drak.
Hi, I Drak am a hunter, but I also played a hunter today. But you can find me on Twitter at Draconics, that's DRAKONIQUES. I'm a TTRPG performer, producer, writer, everything and everything TTRPG related I do. I was the project lead of this show, and I was able to put together such an incredible cast. Just think everything was just amazing, and we do stars and wishes after every session. I have so many. But but today I played Enoch Igweze, the very lovable, kind, warm-hearted hunter who's out there just doing what's best for the world, really.
I agree.
We're gonna have words. Drak, do we have any housekeeping before we go? Anything we need to say?
No, just be there for next week. We got the finale, so it's going to be the last time the finale of season 1 of Enemy of My Enemy, and also if you haven't already entered or won, the last chance you'll get to win a Vampire the Masquerade Ultimate Bundle and Hunter the Reckoning core book. So be there next week. Tell your friend to be there next week. Tell your mom to be there next week. Tell your mom's friend to be there next week.
That's right. We want all your parents.
We want all your parents specifically.
We want to confuse your parents. Bring them.
Ask them what they would do if they knew that the world of darkness existed. What would they do for you? Question them, pressure them.
Yeah, anyway. What they do for you.
Absolutely. Thank you for showing up. Thank you to Demiplane again. Thank you for Hero Forge again. And thank you to these beautiful, wonderful players who have been incredible. We will see you for the finale next Friday, same time, same place. It's gonna be an intense one for all that I can say. And a major thank you to Sin for producing. Sin, my love,
Sin.
amazing human. Thank you. Let's have a good night. Bye-bye.